Thank you, Madam Chairman. Chief Tidwell, good to see you. Thanks for your previous visits to North Dakota. And I guess my first question is, before you final the EA, for the update to the management plan for our lotties on the grasslands in North Dakota, are you going to be back in North Dakota? We'd certainly like to see you again. Any chance you'll be back?
Well, Senator, I had a look at my schedule. I appreciate the times that I've been able to be up there with you, and then also the time I've worked up there in the past. And those meetings I've felt have always been, helpful to not only for me to continue to understand the issues, but also the challenges you're facing up there.
You've been good about coming. I think there's some concerns on the part of our ranchers and grazers as far as your draft EA. And so both in terms of their input, some of the specific recommendations they have, and input from North Dakota State University Range Science. I need to understand how you're going to take those comments and concerns into consideration in going from the draft to a final EA. And I think it would be good if you're back to talk about that before you final the EA.
Okay. Well, we look at the comments from the university, along with the comments from everyone else, plus the other science that's available. And it's all factored into those decisions. I understand we've made some progress, in resolving some of the issues, but there still is this concern about the biological capable areas,
right,
as to which areas the grass can actually grow tall enough to have the stubble height that we'd like to see for some of the upland game species. So that's the thing. It's going to continue to look at the science that universities provided, the science that we have from our scientists, the work that's been done with NRCS, and the comments from the ranchers. But I'm going to remain optimistic that we can find a way through on this, because there's definitely areas where folks agree that it's biologically capable, but there's also some areas where we have this disagreement. And a lot of that is something we don't have to continue to look on and work on. I also think there's some flexibility here to be able to look at these areas, and to be able to go out there and just monitor it too. Because there's maybe some that it's right on the edge, and depending on years, it may work, it may not. But I'm going to remain optimistic that if we can just understand the areas we're in agreement, and then the areas where there's disagreement, and then go and take a look at those areas and just see what it'll take for us to be able to reach agreement on that, and to be able then to monitor it, because we're in this for the long term.
Can we look at getting you out to have that discussion with our grazers and the NDSU range scientists and your folks before you issue the final EA? Because I think that'd be a good discussion so that our people can get a sense of where you're going and what that flexibility is before you final that EA.
I'll check to see what the schedule is on completing that EA, and my schedule. And if there's any way I can get up there, I'll do it.
Okay. Let's see if we can make that happen. Okay. It'd be great. I think it'd be helpful. The other is on controlled burns. What measures are you taking to make sure that you're taking proper precautions to coordinate with people on the ground who live, work, ranch, graze, farm in the area before you're doing any controlled burns on forest lands?
Well, it's essential that we, before we even plan to do a prescribed burn, that we not only go through our public comment process, but we're also taking the time to meet with our cooperators, to meet with the community, so that folks understand what we're trying to get done here, factor in their concerns, make sure we're using all the information that we need to have to ensure that when we are in prescription, to be able to carry out the burn under the conditions where it can be controlled, that we have all the information that's needed. In your case, that also may need that we need additional weather information, and if we're relying on it from one state or one area, we may have to recognize we need additional information, and if that means putting up some portable weather stations ahead of time, that's the sort of thing that we need to do to make sure that we can continue to use the tool, but at the same time to do everything we can to make sure that we do not have the situation when we have a prescribed burn that it gets out of prescription and impacts private land, destroys facilities. It's the last thing we want to do.
Yeah, and again, I'd really urge you to emphasize to your people that are out on the ground that local coordination, working with those folks. I understand there may be different considerations when you're actually working in forests, but we are grasslands. That is different. And so anything and everything you can do to coordinate with the locals, I think, is very important.